The Museo del Oro, the Gold Museum, was mentioned a few times when I asked people who had been to Colombia for suggestions of things to see in Bogota. My friend Diego, who had been showing me around his city, also mentioned it, and he said he had not been there since he was a child, and when he mentioned it to his sister and her novio, they also wanted to go. During our visit, I could understand why so many people liked the museum and had recommended it to me. The Museo del Oro is a fabulously well-done museum operated by the National Bank of Colombia. Diego texted me that they were running late, so I took the time to walk, in the rain unfortunately, to the Plaza de Simón Bolívar in front of the governmental buildings and to visit the Cathedral of Bogota. It was only a few blocks, and I do like to explore cities. On the way, I passed a few other churches that I found to be even more spectacular than the cathedral itself. Unfortunately, they did not allow photos inside. The current cathedral dates back only to 1823, but the other churches predated it by many years and housed much older art. Not that the cathedral was bad by any means, and I was glad I got a chance to explore it. Like many cathedrals, it displayed photos of popes who had visited the church, and it paid tribute to national heroes. And it had tombs of important bishops, all much newer than what I had seen in churches in Europe or was to see a few weeks later in Lima, but it was all very interesting. And the cathedral itself was elegant. After my little visit, I went to meet Diego and his sister and her novio at the museum. The museum itself is a beautiful modern building overlooking a park. The Museo del Oro and many other museums in Bogota and Lima are either free or have greatly reduced entry fees for seniors. Sometimes being old has its privileges. The museum houses artifacts, not just gold artifacts, from the many cultures that existed in Colombia prior to the arrival of the Spanish. A wall chart puts in perspective how much older these cities were than some of the cultural touchstones of Europe. I am always happy to see places that I have been represented, including Stonehenge, Rome, and Notre Dame. The sculpture in the Museo del Oro is often compared to Rodin's The Thinker, but of course it predates it by centuries. I was surprised to learn of how many cultures in South America far predated the Inca and Machu Picchu cultures, which are pretty much the only ones we learn about in school. Some of these people and their art and architecture were rediscovered so recently that I was done with formal schooling before they were known to the outside world. And it made me wonder what other marvels still lie undiscovered beneath our feet and our cities. The museum touched on human sacrifice, which was not uncommon among the early cultures. In the Museo del Oro and other museums, I am often astounded by the incredible workmanship that went into these pieces. I find it interesting that gold was important, and to a lesser extent, silver and copper were important in so much of the world. Those metals held, and for many people, still hold special significance. People often want wedding rings, trophies, and other important items made out of gold or silver. At the Gold Museum and the Larco Museum in Lima, I saw explanations for this fascination that I had never seen before, as many times as I had seen treasures made from precious metals all over the world. In many cultures, gold represented the bright yellow color of the sun, and silver the less vibrant shimmer of the moon. Those metals are often associated with those two heavenly bodies, and were sometimes thought to possess some of the powers of those shining objects that were much more visible to early peoples before the clutter of modern lights distracted from them. And there's a second reason for appreciating the aesthetic qualities of these metals, in addition to the utilitarian functions of holding a good edge for a gold knife and being long-lasting. Now if we want something shiny, we have lots of options from bright plastics to diamonds. But millennia ago, that was not always an easy option. Likewise, if we want to see our reflections, there's likely a mirror or a window nearby in which we can check our hair or see what that mark on our cheek is. But for a long time, finding a stream or a lake on a clear day was your only option to see your reflection, unless you had a shiny metal in which you could examine yourself. In the Gold Museum, there is a room into which visitors can go and have lights play upon gold ornaments that adorn the walls and are in a glass case in the floor. Gold and other precious metals and stones were used to decorate the graves of people of high status, as indicated in this burial. Gold was also used to make musical instruments. There was a display about how many of these items were made using what is called the lost wax method. A mold is made from wax, and when the molten gold is poured into the wax melts away, leaving the golden ornament. As I have noted in previous episodes, I like it when museums have all their plaques and explanations in English as well as the local language. My Spanish is pretty good, but I often miss some key term, often some jargon or other uncommon word that gives the sentence its full meaning, and I would rather not have to stop and translate the word or sentence. Such signage not only helps ignorant people like me from the United States, but it also helps because so much of the world speaks English, and rather than have to put the signage in 17 different languages, a sign in English often helps Germans, Koreans, Japanese, Chinese, and Russian tourists as well. In some of these museums, the slideshows or movies had English subtitles or narration, and in the Larco Museum, they offered several other language options for the videos as well. It was an interesting visit to a beautiful and well-done museum. Later, Diego and his sister and Novio and I went to the Museum of Money and the Art Museum, visits which will be covered in upcoming episodes of Walt's Wanderings. Like and subscribe so you don't miss them.